A huge tree in the shape of a man told Ruko he possesses a portion of the power that connects the heavens and the earth within him, but it still seems to be in deep slumber. It said the power is also waiting to bloom and come to fruition. Ruko, looking at the tree from the ground, asked what it means. The tree in front of him was just an ordinary tree, and Ruko exclaimed, "It's gone." He wondered if that was an illusion. The deer, taking the form of a woman with antlers and long white hair, said that the ancient tree was now very weak and needed the light of a new sun, a new fertilizer. The woman's eyes glowed green, and she added, "A new blessing." Ruko asked surprisingly if she was that deer from just now. The woman said she was the guardian of this place as well as its guide. Sitting down on the ground, the woman pointed forward with her index finger, in front of which was a cloud of yellow energy, and said this is the chaos seed that the Supreme Being left here in this world, and no one knows what kind of fruit it will bear. The woman asked Ruko what was the blessing that he had brought. The seed glowed with yellow energy, and Ruko looked at it intensely. The woman said it's courage. Ruko, illuminated by the yellow light, echoed her words. Straightening her back, the woman said, "The courage that stands resolute and strong between heaven and earth, never yielding." She told Ruko it's time to get going. Yellow energy rushed into Ruko's chest. A column of yellow energy rose into the sky. The woman told Ruko that he was on his own now, and what awaits him is an immensely arduous and cruel ordeal. She asked him if he was ready to accept his true challenge. Ruko replied with a confident grin that that was why he had come here. A bright yellow light illuminated everything around him, and the woman said it's up to him to awaken the power that lies dormant within him. The yellow energy flew past the tall rocks and landed on the round stone arena. Ruko looked around and asked where he was. He said it's pitch black, but he can feel endless space above him. He noticed there's a new mission prompt. The dialogue box read, "Mission Challenge, the Trial of the Sacred Mountain." A vortex of purple energy appeared behind Ruko. Several identical vortexes of energy appeared around him. Several corrupted mountain orcs, level 1, appeared in front of Ruko. A black hole-like blob of dark blue energy appeared in front of the monster's hand. Ruko frowned tensely. The dialogue box read, "Floor 1, defeat 3 mountain orcs." A sphere of dark energy drew Ruko towards it, and the monster used Gravity Avalanche. In the present, Ruko used Gravity Avalanche against Enbido, and there was a sphere of dark energy between them. Gritting his teeth, Enbido noticed his power had gotten absorbed. Many rocks hit his magic barrier, and thought he diverted the power of his punch and transferred it to the ground. The stone floor around Enbido was shattered. Narlo said it's amazing. Tillies wondered if that was really Ruko. Enbido said he didn't expect him to grow so much in just 1 week. He said with a grin it's interesting. Kyujin Shin said he actually got the lazy Enbido pumped up. Lang Si thought this wasn't the full extent of Ruko's current abilities. Ruko, standing up straight, thought every piece of earth has its own heartbeat and he can feel it. Enbido, running towards Ruko, asked if he could channel the impact of his attacks into the ground a second time. Pushing himself off the ground, he jumped to attack Ruko and told him if that's all he's learned, it's not enough. Tiana shouted at Ruko to dodge. Enbido hit Ruko in the chest and he flew backwards from the force of the blow. Kyujin Shin looked at Ruko in surprise and said that he had purposely taken those 3 punches from Enbido. Ruko, standing on his feet, asked if this was what all his attacks amounted to. He said with a grin that, compared to the punch he sent him flying with last time, after 1 week, he did not even feel a thing from those 3 punches. Ruko remembered how he had fought the mission with clenched teeth. The sense of pain scale was about a quarter full. He was standing behind a shield, surrounded by monsters. The dialogue box read, "You have killed 15 level 33 corrupted mountain orcs. Congratulations on completing floor 33's mission. The entrance to floor 34 has been activated. Your sense of pain will be increased by 34 times. Ruko clenched his teeth in pain and grabbed his shoulder. He thought his injuries hurt a lot with just the slightest movement, and this sense of pain debuff has magnified his sense of pain by 34 times. As Ruko goes up each floor, not only does he have to challenge monsters of higher level, but the debuff also gets stronger too. Looking at the exit of the room, Ruko wondered if that was what the challenge was. As he walked through the passage, he noticed that it wasn't a teleporter this time. He wondered if he had completed the challenge. Once outside, Ruko wondered where exactly he was. He looked up in surprise. There was a huge tower above his head, surrounded by clouds. Challenge progress, 34%. Ruko cried out loudly in pain. Floor 34, sense of pain multiplied by 34. One's sense of pain is the most direct means through which they experience pain. Just having that increased tenfold would be enough to make one better off dead. As he continued to scale the tower, the torment caused by Ruko's sense of pain surged through his body like a tsunami. Floor 60, sense of pain multiplied by 60. Surrounded by monsters, Ruko gritted his teeth and screamed in pain. Floor 85, sense of pain multiplied by 85. Ruko, fighting the hordes of monsters, was still screaming in pain. Floor 90, sense of pain multiplied by 90. Ruko's anguished cries grew less frequent. The pain has numbed him. Floor 99, sense of pain multiplied by 99. Ruko, clenching his jaws, thought he had to hang in there. Enbito said he actually managed to take on his attack so easily, and he is starting to get curious about what happened to him this past week, including the change in his appearance too. Ruko stood with his fists clenched. Narlo said he was starting to get curious about what Ruko had been through, too. He said he's a big guy now. Tiana said Ruko must have undergone some kind of hellish training. She said when she saw him at the library upon his return, she was so shocked that she didn't even recognize him, and from his tattered equipment she could tell that he experienced an immense challenge. Darlo said that her words only made him more curious. Ling Si thought, compared to the difficulty of his promotion mission, Ruko seems to have experienced something even tougher. Pushing himself off the ground, Ruko used Heart Force, Gravity Fist. The stone floor broke under Enbito's feet, and he used Void-Rending Force. His fist shrouded in red energy and Ruko's fist shrouded in blue energy rushed towards each other. The impact raised a huge cloud of dust. Narlo took his blade shrouded in electricity in his hand. Taba Zengo held a huge sword. Kyujin said it was a breathtaking clash of forces. Enbito said it was good, and last time he didn't even understand the technique of attacking, but this time he hasn't let him down. Ruko told him the way he unleashes power is extremely impressive, and he did indeed have a tough time dealing with that previously. He grinned and said everyone has a different understanding when it comes to how to unleash power in their attacks, and it's hard to say who will win now. Enbito said no with a grin. He and Ruko swung their fists, and Enbito said his technique is the best. Floor 100, sense of pain multiplied by 100. Ruko stood in front of the huge monster with a giant sphere of dark energy in his hand. Gritting his teeth, he thought this is a challenge that's meant for him alone, and he can't run away. He glanced at the monster with bloodshot eyes. Enbito and Ruko's fists raced towards each other. As their red and blue energies collided, rocks began to fly around them. The shockwave from their attacks destroyed the stone floor beneath their feet. Kyujin said both forces are in conflict. Enbito thought it's unexpected that this little guy's understanding of power has improved so much. He wondered if it was because of Ling Si. Swinging his fist, he said it was interesting. They continued to exchange blows. Taba Zengo, frowning, said Enbito is starting to get serious, and he transformed his defense into strength and doubled it. Watching their battle, he said this is the move that will determine victory or defeat. Ruko, surrounded by blue energy, stood with his fist up. The ground beneath him shattered into splinters. Tiana exclaimed Ruko is at a disadvantage. Tilly said this redhead is really pretty tough. Enbito asked with a grin if he would be able to withstand his force. The smile disappeared from his face, and Ruko said that he had taught him not to rely on his skills. Ruko stood with his eyes closed, and Enbito thought he was relying on his senses. Ruko thought even the earth has its own heartbeat. Kyujin and Ling Si watched the battle in surprise. Ruko's fist was enveloped in yellow energy with a mountain symbol, and he thought no matter how great the power is, it will eventually return to the earth. Ruko's fist shrouded in yellow energy was approaching Enbito's fist shrouded in red energy. Enbito was surprised to think his power was being absorbed. Ling Si tensely looked at the arena. Ruko used Heart Force, returned to the source and thought he'd channel Enbito's power into the ground. The purple potion in someone's hand began to shake. A girl dressed as a mage with a potion in her hand noticed the ground shaking and asked if it was an earthquake. The boy asked if there were earthquakes in this game. He wondered if it was some kind of new event. The guy with the horn said it was shaking really badly. A column of red energy was visible above the ground, and the guy exclaimed that it was the Red Leaf Arena. There was a huge explosion crater in the arena. Temptress said, what an immense force. Taba Zengo said Ruko used his own power to guide Enbito's power and transferred them both into the ground, and it's truly incredible. Temptress asked if it was really so great. He said he had a duel with Enbito once, and he knows full well how terrifying his abilities are. Taba Zengo said it goes without saying how good the kid is to be able to easily pull his power and transfer it to the ground. Tilly's, coughing, asked if they were trying to destroy this entire area. Kyujin said excessive destruction of the game's environment will lead to punishment. He asked with a smile if that is right. Ling Si remained silent. Laughing, Enbito asked about channeling both their forces into the ground. He said this area cannot withstand the combined impact of their power. Ruko said with a smile he can't withstand his power either. Enbito said his power is going to get stronger and asked Ruko if he was ready. Ruko with a confident grin said he will harness his power for his own use. Red patterns appeared behind Enbito's back, and he said he's got him pumped up, and he looks forward to seeing how far can he go in this duel. Ruko, surrounded by rocks that rose into the air, replied he will accompany him to the end. Taba Zengo, resting a hand on the head of the disgruntled Temptress, excitedly said Enbito is very fired up and asked if they were really going to destroy this place. He looked away and a voice told him to come clean up. Several playing cards flew over Enbito's head. With a cluck of his tongue, he said not to get in his way. Swinging a fist shrouded in red energy, He used Force Fist Cannon. The red energy was approaching Ruko. Ling Si used Heaven Sword, and Ruko looked away in surprise. A huge black sword blocked the path of the red energy. A cloud of dust rose up. A playing card with King of Hearts slammed into the ground in front of Enbido. Several playing cards slammed into the ground around him, and Kyujin Shin used Divine Quadrilateral Formation, surrounding Enbido with a square barrier of blue energy. Taba Zengo, straddling him from behind with a huge sword, told him this is enough. Enbido told him to let go of him. Taba Zengo said the Guildmaster doesn't want any conflict with Penumbra, and told him to end this PK here. Enbido screamed he doesn't care, and he hates being interrupted. Kyujin Shin called out to Enbido. Holding the Joker, he told him he'd better not make a mess out of things. Enbido clucked his tongue and said he understood. Heaven Sword was slammed into the ground, surrounded by a cloud of dust. Ling Si, landing beside him, thought he managed to break through his sword with just one punch. Straightening up, he wondered if this was what the power of the #1 shield is like when he gets serious. Ruko called out to Ling Si. He thanked him for blocking that blow for him. The protagonist suggested ending this PK here. Scratching the back of his head, Ruko said this was truly an incredible punch, and he'd really like to see just how big of a gap there is between Enbido and him. Ling Si thought with a smile Ruko has really grown to be able to think this way. Enbido, pounding his fists on the walls of the magic barrier, begged the Guildmaster to let him out. Tilly shouted to keep him in there. Narlo, waving his hand, called out to Ruko. Kyujin Shin asked Enbido if he had calmed down. He said yes, and Taba Zengo, exhaling, asked why he was stuck in here too. Kyujin Shin waved his hand, and the playing cards flew into the air. After flying through the air, they were in front of Kyujin Shin's hand. Ling Si thought this was his first time seeing Kyujin Shin's ability. In his previous life, only a few had any information about him, and it was as if he was deliberately protecting himself. Ling Si thought he was a really cautious one. Even though he's the guildmaster of the #1 guild, he keeps a very low profile in the game, and it's still a mystery as to what his full abilities are. Squaring his shoulders, Enbido grudgingly asked why do they always like to interrupt him. He said it's not often that he gets all pumped up. Kyujin Shin said he let his excitement get to his head again, and told him to take a look around him. The arena around them was destroyed, and Kyujin Shin said this is their guild's territory, and he's going to cost them a fortune again. Enbido apologized and called out to Ruko. Placing his hands on his belt, he told him with a smile he'd made him see him in a new light in just 1 week, and he'd earned his approval. He asked him for his name. Ruko replied with a grin that his name was Ruko Zong. Enbido said he will remember it. After all, he's someone who managed to come to a draw with him. With a hand on his shoulder, Kyujin Shin objected. He said, in his opinion, he's lost, and he's really disappointed in him. Ling Si told Ruko it's his victory. Ruko exclaimed in surprise. He asked him if he won, and if Ling Si and Thousand Autumn's guildmaster didn't deal that last blow. The protagonist replied that sometimes victory is not solely dependent on the result. Kyujin Shin told Enbido he was on the verge of using his true strength only to achieve such a result, and, as the main tank of the #1 guild, he had indeed suffered a complete defeat. After remaining silent, Enbido smiled slightly. Bowing to the ground, he apologized and asked not to be punished. Temptress, laughing, said he's using the same trick again to beg for mercy. Kyujin Shin told them not to be so quick to laugh, and he still hasn't settled the score with them for their performance at the Mad King dungeon. Temptress and Taba Zengo looked at him fearfully. Blazing with anger, Kyujin Shin said the 3 of them had performed atrociously in the Mad King dungeon in today's duel. The 3 of them awkwardly scratched the back of their heads and apologized. Opening one eye, Kyujin Shin said he didn't like the feeling of losing. He glanced at Ling Si, who was standing calmly with his hands in his pockets. Appearing behind Ruko, Tilly said with a wide grin that she couldn't have imagined that after only a week she would hardly recognize him. Putting her hand on his head, she said he's as tall as her now. Narlo said with a smile that he had really managed to stand on his own against Enbido, and those 2 moves of his were really incredible. Tilly's asked him what happened to him over the past week. Ling Si listened to their conversation with a smile. Ryuko was at a loss for words. Clenching his fist, shrouded in yellow energy, he said he passed a trial, gained some epiphanies, and obtained a reward. He said it's a long story. A voice called out to Ling Si. Kyujin Shin said, since the duel is over, they will be taking their leave. He said with a smile he's really happy to get to witness his members' abilities today, and Penumbra truly lives up to its reputation in terms of strength. He said he hopes today's fight won't affect the harmony between their guilds. Ling Si said, of course not. The smile disappeared from Kyujin Shin's face, and he said it's good to hear. Enbido suggested Ruko to have an uninterrupted PK match next time. Ruko, agreeing, said he'll definitely have a good spar with him next time. Ling Si asked Temptress and Taba Zengo if they still wanted the heart. He said he's planning to go get another. Temptress and Taba Zengo twitched with a nervous smile. The protagonist said he still haven't properly settled the score with them for what happened last time. Temptress asked about him still remembering that. Pressing herself against him, she said she won't have him holding grudges against her like this. Ling Si, embarrassed, told her to drop that seduction act of hers. Hyujin Shin said he believes Ling Si isn't such a calculative person. Turning around, he said with a smile that they had caused some trouble for their guild lately, and asked not to misunderstand them. Leaving, he said there's still a long road ahead and they can take their time to get to know each other. He said to Ling Si, "Till we meet again." Tilly's asked why Kyujin Shin is acting all hoity-toity when they lost. Ling Si smiled as he looked after him. Everyone asked in surprise. Dumpling stood frowning, grabbing Ling Si by his clothes. Tilly said she didn't look like a pet at all. Dumpling said she's not a pet and she is Ling Si's daughter. Tilly said she even knows how to talk back. Narlo asked if she was the kid he brought out last time. Tilly's asked if that didn't mean they had 2 new members in their team now. Dumpling, looking at Ruko, called him Doggy. Ruko asked in surprise if he was counted. Tilly said he looks totally different, so he counts as 1. Narlo asked Ruko if he still could gigantify. With a thumbs up, he replied, "Of course." Narlo, also giving a thumbs up, said he's looking forward to it. Darkfeather asked the main character what they were doing next. Ling Si told them to wait patiently. Tilly's asked what for. She told him they came specifically to help him get the last heart, and she rejected lots of level carrying orders for him. After thanking them, the protagonist asked them to be patient some more. He said it should be here soon. Ling Si said it's here. Tilly's asked what that sound was. Narlo, looking at the gray sky above the trees, said it's coming from there. He asked about the town invasion miracle. Ling Si said they're going to look for the town invasion miracle challenge, and he got Tiana to help collect and screen the demon wild boss's town invasion miracle challenges, and eventually chose the town nearby. He said they're going after a sovereign rank demon wild boss this time. Narlo said wild bosses spawn randomly, and it won't be easy for them to camp for the monster they need. He said the last town invasion miracle challenge he encountered only spawned an elite rank great mountain steel bear, and its attacks were not very strong, but its HP was alarming. He said it took a great number of players to surround and attack it for a really long time to wear it down. Ling Si told him not to worry because Tiana ran the numbers, and this region has the highest probability of spawning demon-type monsters. He said they'll spread out and search. Narlo, sitting in a tree and looking at the monster, said the boss spawned in the southeast isn't a demon. Darkfeather said the boss in the north isn't a demon either. Ling Si said southeast as well. Looking at the huge pink flame, Dumpling said it's a huge cotton candy. The main character, sitting with Ruko and Dumpling, said it looks like luck is not on their side. He told them to continue waiting for new monsters to spawn in the areas around them. Tilly shouted there's a demon where she is. Ling Si said it's perfect and told Narlo and Darkfeather they're going over there. Narlo asked which direction. Tilly said it's south, and she shared the location with them. Darkfeather ran forward, surrounded by crows. Ruko, Ling Si and Dumpling ran forward. Tilly said the boss is a little strange. She said it didn't actually spawn here, and she flew down from the skies. The protagonist asked, "Flew?" Tilly said she seems to be searching for something. Ling Si asked what's the name of the boss. Ruko, frowning, asked Ling Si what's the matter. The protagonist, looking at the dialogue box in surprise, exclaimed that it was dragon-scaled demon. Dumpling happily looked at a butterfly sitting on a tree branch. Narlo surprisingly asked about Dumpling being the dragon-scaled demon's child. Ling Si frowned and said that if this boss is that particular dragon-scaled demon, then she's probably looking for Dumpling, and he is her greatest enemy. Darkfeather asked if he was saying that that dragon-scaled demon has been roaming around the underground world for so long just to look for her daughter. Narlo asked how that is possible, and if she wasn't just an NPC. Ling Si said it's probably the case, and thought Dumpling is indeed a truly special being, and he can't let her know about this. Dumpling was playing with butterflies floating in the air. Narlo asked what they should do. He said it's going to be tough for the few of them to take on the boss themselves. Ling Si suggested hearing what the situation is like over there from Tilly's and decide. The dialogue box announced a new urgent message. Ling Si asked if it was from Still Waters. He opened his eyes in surprise. There was an explosion of pink energy. Sitting on the rock, Tilly said she's huge and asked about Ling Si actually being able to steal such a terrifying monster's egg from under her nose. Looking at her appearance, she thought about her being Dumpling's mother. People were frantically running through the fortress being destroyed by the boss. They looked at the pink energy gathering near the monster. A stream of pink energy hit the fortress, and the big guy in armor blocked it with his shield. It was Student Inch from Divine Chamber, and he said this dragon-scaled demon is really strong. With a smirk, he said a boss of this level will give great rewards upon being killed, and it was truly worthwhile for them to come all the way here to the underground world. The blue energy hit the monster's pink energy, and someone said Divine Chamber aren't the only people who have their eyes on this boss. Student Inch asked in surprise that it was Celestial's Vice Guildmaster, Fallen Whale. Fallen Whale stood, pointing his sword forward. He told Student Inch he has to thank him for helping him out. Student Inch clucked his tongue in displeasure. The guy in armor shouted to him that it was Taba Zengo from Thousand Autumns. A blue portal appeared in the city and Taba Zengo came out of it with a tired face. He said it's annoying, and he didn't think he'd be on a mission again so soon. Student Inch said even Thousand Autumns is after this dragon-scaled demon, and there are now 3 of the major guilds here for its neck. Fallen Whale said it's more than that, and there's a lot of competition. Looking at the wall, he thought it's Penumbra. He told Stillwaters his intel network is pretty good, and those other guilds have really come for the dragon-scaled demon. He thought it's really her, that dragon-scaled demon, and she seems even more maniacal than before. Stillwaters asked him what's their next step. He said, looking at the situation, it's going to be tough for them to snatch the first kill with those 3 other major guilds around. He asked if, to be on the safe side, they would give up on this demon's heart. He said no, and he has to be the one to kill this dragon-scaled demon. Frowning, he said he must put things to an end. The protagonist said to listen to his instructions because he had a plan. He asked Stillwaters if he had brought enough holy elixir with him. Stillwaters said yes, and that he could pass them to him right away. He told him to distribute them amongst themselves because he doesn't need many and he isn't going to participate in the first part of the battle. He said he'll leave bringing down the boss's HP to them. Stillwaters looked at him questioningly. The protagonist with a serious face said, this time, their strategy is to borrow the hands of others to kill. Fallen Whale fought the dragon-scaled demon with his sword. A shot of yellow energy hit the monster in the back. Fallen Whale told Penumbra's sniper that it was a powerful shot. Dark Feather looked through the scope of the sniper's rifle enveloped in yellow energy. Student Inch, hitting the monster with his shield, said the rewards belonged to them, Divine Chamber. Tilly's, appearing above its head, said she disagreed. She smirked and said it all comes down to who can do the most damage. Taba Zengo asked Narlo if Penumbra was here to fight for the boss too. Narlo asked him what he meant by fight. He said Penumbra, had their eye on this boss long ago. Taba Zengo, grinning, said he never thought he'd hear him say we and Penumbra in the same breath, since he rejected all the invitations that they, the #1 guild, offered to him. Narlo said he came to Heavenland to have a good time, and he doesn't want to have any part in Thousand Autumn's business. Dodging the monster's blow, he said it's really interesting in Penumbra because Lingxi is there. He asked him not to talk about this anymore. Taba Zengo told him that, if he wants to come to Thousand Autumns in the future, he can feel free to let them know anytime. The guy in armor ordered everyone to go all out. Magic hit the dragon-scaled demon, and the guy said they have strength in numbers. He told everyone to crush her. Dragon-scaled demon said about her child. Someone ordered to go around her to land a sneak attack. The monster's health dropped below half, and she kept calling out for her child. Someone ordered focus fire. The monster's health dropped to 1/4 and the guy ordered to finish her off in one go. Dragon-scaled demon kept calling out to her child. Lingxi thought it's time. He stood on the roof of the building, looking at the monster. He called out dragon-scaled demon. The people from the other guilds tensely turned around, and the people from Penumbra smiled. Dragon-scaled demon recognized the voice of a man who stole her child, and she opened her eyes wide. Wrapped in pink energy, she let out a loud scream. The guy in armor said this is bad, and the dragon-scaled demon's aggro has gone elsewhere. Student Inch asked how that was possible, and what about all the damage they painstakingly dealt. Dragon-scaled demon rushed after Lingxi in pursuit, cursing him. Student Inch asked how Lingxi took her aggro away. Dragon-scaled demon continued to shoot pink energy. Using the grappling hook, the protagonist climbed up a tree branch. The monster screamed about being the man who stole her child. She slammed her foot on the ground with force. A pink energy was gathering in front of her face. Shooting out a huge stream of energy, she shouted for the thief to die. Lingxi, clenched his teeth, thought her overwhelming aura has become even more terrifying than before. He thought he could kind of understand the deep-seated resentment and hatred it holds towards him. In front of the monster's anger-crazed face, pink energy was gathering again. There was an explosion in the forest. Student Inch said they can't let Lingxi steal the dragon-scaled demon from them, and ordered to give chase. A voice called out to him like a small fry, and he turned around. Tilly's, swinging a staff shrouded in flame, told him to stay where he was. There was an explosion, and Fallen Whale thought Lingxi was still as unpredictable as ever, and it was indeed a huge loss not to have him recruited into their guild back then. Frowning, he glanced to the side. He parried the shots with his sword and said that he knew he was coming for him. Dark Feather with a smoking gun in his hand said he'd make him GG. Taba Zeno asked what Lingxi was up to at this time. He said, to think he's making us his errand boys. Narlo said he told him Lingxi is an interesting guy. He said with a smirk that he was the only one who could do something like that. He remembered Ling Si saying that they would use the power of the 3 major guilds to bring down the dragon-scaled demon's HP, and this way they could minimize their costs. He said he'll need them to keep an eye on the major damage dealers, and told them to make sure they don't actually kill the dragon-scaled demon. Turning around, the protagonist said he'll be the one to end the dragon-scaled demon. Tabazengo asked Narlo in the present tense if he was the one who'd been deployed to block him. Narlo said yes. Holding the blade shrouded in electricity in his hand, he said he didn't want to fight him, but since it was for his master, he had no other choice. Wiping his face with his hand, Ling Si thought the damage dealt by the dragon-scaled demon who's gone berserk from wanting revenge is crazy. His face was covered with bruises, and he thought just a light graze cost him half his HP, and the room for error is really small. Dragon-scaled demon's eyes were glowing red, and she was surrounded by pink energy. The protagonist said it's a good thing he has a backup plan. He said this is an arena that was specially prepared just for her. The dragon-scaled demon screamed that her child's over there. She fired a stream of pink energy. A shield flashed before their eyes, and Ruko appeared in front of Ling Si, covering him with his shield. He told Ling Si that they were all waiting for him. Ling Si noticed that his health was recovering and turned around. Stillwaters, shrouded in yellow energy, said that everything seemed to be going according to his plan. Ling Si thanked him with a smile. The veins on dragon-scaled demon's face swelled with anger, and she cursed at the humans. Ruko asked the protagonist to let him deal with it. The protagonist said that the dragon-scaled demon is now extremely aggressive, and its attacks are also terrifyingly strong. Ruko told him not to worry because he will definitely block all of its attacks. He said he wanted to put the things he learned from his trial into practice. After a bit of silence, Ling Si agreed with a smile. Ruko ran forward and jumped towards the dragon-scaled demon that was shooting streams of pink energy. A sphere of dark blue energy appeared in his hand and he directed it forward. The sphere of energy absorbed the dragon-scaled demon's attack. Shortening the distance, Ruko said this is just perfect. He said with a smirk, trying out the thing he had gotten, the power of Earth's heartbeat. 1 week ago, Ruko stood in front of a huge sphere of dark blue energy. The dialogue box read, "Final trial, purify the forest, purify the ultimate corruption." Gritting his teeth, Ruko reached out his hand toward the sphere of dark energy. His eyes became bloodshot and he screamed in pain. Yellow energy enveloped the tower. Ruko found himself unclothed in the bright space. A voice thanked him for his bravery. The guardian with the deer antlers pointed a finger at Ruko and said that in all this time, no man had ever been able to endure such a trial. And, throughout this journey, the pain he has endured has not only tested his courage, but also challenged his resilience and determination. A column of blue energy rose into the sky, and she told him that he was fully worthy of inheriting her blessing, courage. The guardian said it's all thanks to him that the tower's corruption has been expelled, the ancient tree has been revived, and Earth has come to live once more. Ruko found himself next to the tree. The tree told him that within that small body lay the courage and resilience of a giant. Ruko turned around. There was a huge mountain symbol in front of the tree, and it said, without an unwavering mindset, it is impossible to save this place, and he is worthy of inheriting its heartbeat, the heartbeat of the earth. Yellow energy enveloped Ruko. The dialogue box read, "Blessing awakened. Congratulations on awakening the power of a blessing. Blessing courage has evolved. You can sense the eternal heartbeat of the earth and share infinite power with the earth. The earth is you. You are the earth." Ruko has transformed into a young boy. Obtained additional reward, divine body refinement. In the present tense, looking at the huge mountain symbol, Ling Si thought sacred mountain Rukozong is finally here in this world. The mountain symbol was shining brightly with yellow light. A lot of guys in armor were running through the forest. One of them said that they couldn't let Penumbra's guildmaster steal the boss from them. He yelled to the Divine Chamber men that they were too slow. He told them to step aside and let them pass. The Divine Chamber guy yelled to Thousand Autumns to cut that #1 guild act out. He asked why they had to give way to them. Pointing his finger at a pillar of yellow energy, the guy yelled to look over there. The other guy exclaimed that they should be that way. Dumpling was in the forest, standing with her back to the yellow energy pillar. Coco Lai said she came along with Stillwaters, but Ling Si is actually making her stay here to look after this little girl. She wondered if Stillwaters was fine without her. Noticing something, she turned around. Dumpling flew off in the opposite direction. Coco Lai asked where she was going. Coco Lai frowned and said it was bad. A huge cloud of dust rose up among the trees. Ruko swung his fist, using giant sacred mountain, gravity embodied. The dragon-scaled demon fell to the ground, and Ruko stood there, shrouded in yellow energy. Stillwaters said it was incredible. Ruko looked at them with a smirk, and Stillwaters wondered if this was Ruko's new giant form. Noticing the pink light, Ling Si shouted to Ruko to watch out. A pink energy was gathering in front of the monster's face. Ruko used eternal gravity, Devour, and the dark blue energy sphere absorbed the flow of pink energy. Stillwaters said the dragon-scaled demon's power is being absorbed, and Ruko's new skills are really powerful. Lingxi said that he hadn't seen his duel with Enbito, so he didn't blame him for being surprised. Ruko thought this dragon-scaled demon was really strong, and even Devour in his giant form cannot fully absorb all of the damage it dealt. Ruko said that he would have to resort to schemes. Using eternal gravity, return to origin, he said he would return all the damage it dealt. The monster stared in surprise at the energy approaching her. Remembering the egg, she demanded that her child be returned to her. A gigantic cloud of war rose above the battlefield. Lingxi thought that Ruko was much stronger in this life than he expected, and it looked like he wouldn't have to interfere. He hoped that was the case. In front of Ruko was a blue-purple energy that looked like flames. The dragon-scaled demon, shrouded in blue-purple energy, rose to her feet. Her health was very close to zero. She struck the ground with pink energy. The protagonist told Stillwaters to buff him up. Frowning, he said this was its final struggle. The monster said it would destroy everything. She used Super Dark Rift Assault Beam. The dark purple energy hit Ruko's blue energy. Ruko gritted his teeth and thought that he couldn't hold out against this, and this power is way too strong. He thought this power is far beyond what a boss of its level should possess. Ruko glanced back, and Lingxi said it's the power of resentment. He used the vessel of the restless chaos. The protagonist told Ruko that he had come to help him. The collision of the three energies caused a large explosion. The dragon-scaled demon fell down. Lingxi summoned Heavensward, and a huge black sword appeared above the monster. Apologizing, he offered to bring all this to an end. The sword, shrouded in red energy, swung at the monster, and she opened her eyes wide. Dumpling called out to the protagonist, and he opened his eyes wide. His sword missed, and Dumpling covered the dragon-scaled demon with her own, spreading her arms out to the sides. Looking at Dumpling's back, dragon-scaled demon asked if she was her child. Dumpling turned around. Her mother tearfully said that it was her, and it was her child sent. Lingxi said that was correct, and it was her mother. He thought he had prepared himself for this moment, but now he is not sure how to face Dumpling. The protagonist thought she's supposed to be just a pet, just an NPC, but perhaps from the moment she called him daddy, he's become unable to treat her like an ordinary NPC or a pet. Lingxi apologized for hiding it from her and said that he was actually the person who stole her from her mother. Wiping the tears from dragon-scaled demon's face, Dumpling told her not to cry. Her smile was reflected in her mother's eyes, and she said that she was doing very well, and Lingxi had given her that name. The main character opened her mouth in surprise. Dumpling said she likes this name very much. Lingxi turned around. Dumpling, illuminated by the rays of the sun, said with a smile that, in fact, from the moment she was born, she knew everything about everything. Lingxi was looking at her dumbfoundedly, and Dumpling called him stupid daddy. Little Lingxi from his past life was walking down a snowy city street. Not far from him, a girl was complaining to her boyfriend about being cold. Also nearby, a little girl was complaining to her father that she was hungry. Her father said he would make her something tasty when they got home. The main character's eyes expressed nothing, and he stared at the back of the family walking in front of him. Ever since he was old enough to understand things, he's been on his own. Lingxi closed his eyes. Thinking back on it, the protagonist thought he doesn't really know about things like kinship or how to be a father. He looked at Dumpling, who was standing in front of him with a sad face. Dragon-scaled demon had said that they, dragon-scaled demons, knew their origins from the moment they were born, and that was why she thought her child hadn't been hatched. Otherwise, she would have killed him the moment she was born and returned to her. Gritting his teeth, he said that he never thought she would really recognize him as her father. Lingxi supposed the reason Dumpling didn't hurt him after she was born was because of that drop of blood he gave her. Dumpling said Lingxi is very good to her, and he gave her lots of yummy things, put her to bed, gave her a name, even brought her to his home in the other world, which is really mysterious and totally different from here. She said there's also Grandpa. Dumpling said his food is very delicious, and she ate a lot at every meal. Putting her hand on her chest, she asked her mother to forgive Lingxi because she wanted to see them fight. Dragon-scaled demon said her child is called Dumpling. She called out to the protagonist. Swinging her hand sharply, she said that her child had human blood flowing inside her and he had defiled the bloodline of the dragon-scaled demons. Stillwaters fearfully called out to Lingxi. Dumpling fearfully called out to her mother. The monster's hand stopped, and she said that she had lost to him, a human, and her child had chosen him. Lingxi stood there with his mouth open. Dragon-scaled demon told him to do it, and said she knows there's something he wants from her. She said it's a punishment that this failed mother should bear. Lingxi wondered what was going on, and whether this was part of a special mission. He thought that these emotions were too realistic. He wondered how he could bring himself to kill her. People from the other guilds began to approach them. Seeing the huge Ruko, one guy asked why the giant was here. Ruko was hitting the ground with his giant hands, and another guy said he was a member of Penumbra. He said to ignore him and go for the dragon-scaled demon. He said there's just one last bit of HP left. Ruko said he wouldn't let them stop them. Stillwaters hurried the protagonist and said they were running out of time and members of other guilds would be here soon. He said if they take the kill, all their efforts would be for nothing and he must kill her himself. Ling Si, frowning and clenching his jaws, said that he understood. Red energy flashed and a weapon appeared in his hand. Dumpling shouted at him not to do that. Ling Si ran past her with a halberd in his hands. He told Dumpling to trust him and he would not disappoint her. Dragon-scaled demon told him to come. The protagonist pierced her chest with his halberd, picking up a purple heart. Dumpling shockingly called out to her mother. The dragon-scaled demon began to disappear and Ling Si held her heart in his hand. The dialogue box said, "You have obtained the heart of a dragon-scaled demon." The halberd was enveloped in purple energy. Mad King's Battle Halberd, an experimental weapon of the Mad King. You have one chance to capture the soul of a deceased neutral creature. When the captured soul gains enough power, it can be reborn. Purple energy enveloped the arena. Ling Si, smiling slightly, thought thank goodness the dragon-scaled demon's aggro towards him was gone, and this Mad King's Battle Halberd has finally come in handy. The dialogue box read, "The dragon-scaled demon has been killed." Ruko, holding the mage girl in his hand, said cheerfully that Ling Si had done well. The armor guy exclaimed that they were too slow. The mage girl demanded that Ruko lower her to the ground. Dumpling approached the halberd shrouded in purple energy. Ling Si told her that her mother's soul was very weak right now and she needed her dragon-scaled demon power. The dialogue box says, "To revive a soul, you need a new medium." Dumpling, shrouded in pink energy, held a pink flame in her hands. Ruko ran towards them and told Ling Si that he had chased away the other guilds. The protagonist praised him for doing a good job. Ruko asked what Dumpling was doing. Ling Si said she is using her power to maintain her mother's soul. He asked Stillwaters if he knows what medium means. Stillwaters replied he's really stunned by this scene. He said the NPCs, Dumpling and that dragon-scaled demon, everything they did today, has far exceeded what a player like him understands about this game. Looking at Ling Si, Stillwaters told him that the things that were happening around him were really mysterious, and, as the one who's at the root of all this, only he himself might have the answer as to what this medium is. Ling Si repeated the words about the root. Remembering his conversation with Siba, he thought he would give it a try. He called out to Dumpling and she opened her sad eyes. Pouring the red liquid onto the flames, the protagonist said since she could become his daughter, it wouldn't be too strange to make the dragon-scaled demon work for him. He spilled his blood on the pink flame and said he would use his blood as medium. A pillar of bright light rose above Dumpling's head. She said joyfully, "Mother." Stillwaters watched in amazement. Ling Si watched, frowning tensely. The purple spirit of a woman with long hair appeared in front of them. Her eyes were red, and Dumpling called out to her mother. Ling Si stepped onto the ground with white and red flowers. He thought he's back here at this ravine again. He remembered it was because he was escaping from the dragon-scaled demon that he accidentally found this place back then. Remembering everything that happened in this place, he remembered the dragon-scaled demon. Dragon-scaled demon, in the form of a pink flame with a head and arms with dark red skin and dark green hair, asked the protagonist what he had done to her. Ling Si and Dumpling looked at her confused. Stillwaters said with a smile that maybe the soul that was bound does not have enough energy to maintain her original appearance. Ruko said shocked that this huge demon had become very small. The protagonist said it's good enough that she could be revived. The demon, coughing, shouted irritably that he had taken her heart. Dumpling, smiling awkwardly, said she would take care of her. The dialogue box says, "You have obtained the summon, dragon-scaled demon. Please name her." Looking at the dialogue box, Ling Si thought about what name to give her. Looking at Dumpling and her mother, he said that he needed to give her a more human name. He decided to call her Kaja. In the midst of the red water stood a round stone platform with an archway and red and white flowers around the edges. The guardian of the undead mercenary altar turned around and said unauthorized persons are not allowed near the altar. Ling Si said he's back and asked if she didn't remember him. The guardian's white hair fluttered slightly in the wind. She asked for the hearts he had collected. A heart shrouded in red energy floated in the air above the pedestal. The voice said the collection of required power to forge is complete. The 3 hearts shone with a bright light and the voice said, "Congratulations, human thief. You have completed the offering within the stipulated time. Present your weapon to begin the forging upgrade." The main character's daggers rose into the air, shrouded in a bright light. Ling Si smiled as he thought this was his very first legendary grade weapon. A bright red-yellow light from the door illuminated the space. A voice said, "Now I bestow upon you the ethereal ghost blade. This dagger has endured countless ages, claimed numerous lives, and bears countless departed souls. I believe this is the most fitting dagger for you. Ethereal Ghost Blade, a legendary grade dagger. A blade of carnage from ancient times that is rumored to have been forged from white meteoric iron. As it reaped countless lives, it became stained with blood, turning from silver white to crimson, until it eventually took on an indelible blood-black hue. Ling Si took the new daggers in his hands. Weapon Skill-1 Soul Mark. When the dagger delivers the final blow, you can claim the opponent's soul, temporarily turning them into soul follower marks. Upon amassing 60 soul follower marks, you can use the Soul Whale skill. Weapon Skill 2 Soul Annihilation. Once the soul whale has accumulated to a certain threshold, you can unleash the ultimate skill, Soul Annihilation, at any creature directly. This skill inflicts soul damage on the opponent, ignoring both physical and magical defense, and can only be diminished or resisted by psychic defense. Creatures killed by Soul Annihilation will also be transformed into soul follower marks. Weapon Passive Skill Phantom Gale Robes. When equipped with this dagger, you can shroud yourself in a set of spectral robes, completely concealing your presence and silencing your movements. You can activate it a second time to completely conceal your appearance and all information, rendering you in a state of darkness. Ling Si activated the Phantom Gale Robes, and half turned into a shadow, shrouded in red energy. With a wicked grin, he said, "This feels really good." Desolate Wasteland, level 72 to 80 area. A guy in armor, swinging his sword, was killing monsters. Another guy told him it was the last one. The guy in armor said there must be a lot of monsters here, and the guide said this is a good place for grinding levels. He asked how there could be no more monsters. There was no one around them, and the guy said there were no more. The guy in armor asked where the mobs had gone. The guy in mage clothes pointed his finger to the sides and shouted that someone was stealing their mobs. The invisible man was striking with purple energy, killing one monster after another. The guys asked what that black shadow was. Ling Si, who had turned into a shadow, was holding daggers in his hands. He was level 80, and he thought this Phantom Gale Robes was really convenient, and, with this, he doesn't even need to hide his skills. When he was behind another monster, he thought that as long as he wasn't fighting monsters above his level, he could hide his presence without wasting any energy. The guy exclaimed in surprise as it disappeared. He asked if it was a player. The other guy replied that it couldn't be. He asked how someone could come here to kill monsters without a team. The guy in armor said, "Let's go meet that guy." The guy with blue hair told him that Shadow was really something else, and it would be a problem if he's a member of a major guild. The guy in armor with the evil grin asked him if he was stupid. He said that they, the Viper Guild, were the #1 subsidiary guild of Thousand Autumns, and there were 4 of them. He asked what there is to be afraid of. The guy said it's his own fault for stealing their mobs and hiding his information. He offered to kill him and take his equipment. The guy with the blue hair said he was right. Phantom Gale Robes deactivated. Ling Si returned to his normal appearance. His dagger was shrouded in electricity, and using thunderflash attacks, he stabbed the monster in the back. With a slight smirk, the protagonist thought that he was indeed capable of killing a monster of this level with a single strike, and the damage of this weapon was very high. He thought it had brought all his skills up a notch. Ling Si kicked another monster that fell to the ground with his foot. Purple energy enveloped the dagger. The dialogue box read, "Soul follower marks amassed, 58 out of 60. Ling Si said it's 2 more to go. The 2 monsters looked fearfully at the protagonist. His punch raised a cloud of dust above the ground. The dialogue box says, "Soul follower marks amassed, 60 out of 60. The main character's daggers were shrouded in dark purple energy. Ling Si activated Soul Whale with a smirk, thinking that he needed to find a target to try out the power of this skill. There was no one in front of him, and he thought he'd cleared all the monsters in the surrounding area. He thought it's such a pain to wait for them to spawn again. A voice called out to him, and the guy in armor with the evil grin said that he had stolen all the mobs in the area, and that really makes him angry. Raising an eyebrow, he told him to be a good boy and go to the graveyard. He added that he should remember to leave his equipment behind. Ling Si exhaled with a sinister grin. Shrouded in purple energy, he said that they had come at the perfect time. The protagonist pierced the chest of the armor-clad guy, and he was surrounded by purple ghosts. The guy asked in surprise about it being a one-shot kill. The dialogue box says, "You have consumed 30 soul follower marks to use Soul Annihilation. Every soul follower mark will increase your dagger's damage and enchantment effect. Current skill amplification benefit 30 out of 60, 30%. Ling Si thought the damage buff these soul follower marks give to his dagger, along with Soul Annihilation, is enough for him to one-shot a level 70 player. And this weapon is really powerful. Standing behind the guys, the protagonist said he has 1 more Soul Annihilation to cast, and asked who's next. The guys turned around and screamed in fright. A skull shrouded in dark purple energy rose above the location. Ruko looked at the dialogue box and exclaimed that it was Ling Si. Next to him was a huge red-horned monster. Clenching his fist, he said, "Roger." Tilly's, while taking a shower, noticed a message from Ling Si. Looking at the dialogue box, she hummed. Shooting the monsters with his sniper rifle, Darkfeather said, "GG." He noticed a dialogue box appearing in front of him. Vankafis' secretary told her that she had received a message from Ling Si. Vankafis lifted her goggles from her face and looked at the dialogue box. Narlo, laughing, was beating the moles with a wooden hammer when the dialogue box appeared next to him. Raising an eyebrow, he said he understood, and it looked like things were going to be boring for quite a while. Tiana told Stillwaters about the message Ling Si had just sent. Stillwaters said he got it too. Coco Lai, sitting next to him, said that with some effort to gather all 3 hearts, he had already found a new target. She said their new guildmaster is a tough one to handle. Stillwaters said that this was also one of the reasons why Ling Si had caught his attention. Opening his eyes, he said with a slight smile that he was a person who surprised people with unexpected actions, but at the same time had a clear and determined purpose. He told them to go get prepared, mobilize all the resources of the guild, and cooperate with the guild leader. Stillwaters said, with the level leaderboard as the goal, they will devote themselves to increasing their levels. Level leaderboard is a leaderboard highly valued by all players. Basically, it is a promotional platform for all guilds and workshops, as well as a gathering spot for certain celebrity players. Being placed on the leaderboard is not only an honor but also a symbol of strength. Whether it's combat prowess or economic power, it means they would become a topic of discussion among other players during their leisure time. As such, being on the leaderboard becomes the most effective means of promotion, and guilds or studios to which the players on the leaderboard belong will utilize their fame to attract and recruit more talents. For the sake of this highly efficient advertisement, all guilds and studios will have players dedicated to climbing the rankings. As a result, players are well aware that those who can make it to the leaderboard are either top-tier pros or have powerful financial backing. Ling Si thought now that Penumbra is on the radar of the various major guilds, there's no need for them to keep a low profile, and since he's already gotten a legendary grade weapon, it's time to climb the level leaderboard. He decided to reveal his level publicly, scale the rankings, and bring Penumbra to greater heights. The protagonist thought that he hadn't noticed that almost a year had passed since he had been reborn into this world that was both familiar and unfamiliar. Remembering the humiliations from his past life, he thought the reborn Ling Si would never again live a life of desperate struggle just to survive like before. Stepping forward, he thought that now he's no longer a person who has nothing. Behind him were Knight, Kaja, and Dumpling. Ling Si smiled and thought that the first player to reach level 100 in this life would be him. A week later, a man called out to Kyujin Shin. He said that Penumbra's guildmaster, Ling Si, had rushed up the level leaderboard in just a short amount of time. Taba Zengo said that Kyujin Shin told him to keep an eye on Ling Si, and there hasn't been much news of him recently, but he didn't think he was focused on climbing the level leaderboard. Kyujin Shin, looking at the playing cards, said that he didn't expect he was interested in that. He wondered if he was planning to become famous. Taba Zengo said that he would soon catch up to their level, and after level 80, the experience requirements for leveling up become incredibly high, but he did level up 3 levels in 1 week. He said it's a rather alarming rate, and asked him if they should also make their levels public and compete with him. Kyujin Shin silently chose one of the playing cards. There was a joker in front of him, and he said there was no need because after level 85, it would take a lot of experience to level up, which would take a long time. He said there are more important things for them to do now, so they can't make that their focus. He added that, at the rate Ling Si is going at now, no one will be able to stop him yet. 1 month later, Ling Si has climbed from 50th place to 40th on the level leaderboard. For the sake of climbing the level leaderboard, Ling Si embarked on a long period of solo combat with the help of the legendary grade ethereal ghost blade, Dumpling, and the Knight of the Glorious, which allowed him to have all the experience of each fight to himself. 4 months later, as the player's level increased, the exponential increase in experience required has led 90% of professional players to abandon their pursuit of the top spot on the leaderboard. Among those who remained, only the seasoned elite players with a time advantage occupy the top positions on the leaderboard. Yet, Ling Si's bid for the top of the leaderboard broke this stalemate and ignited the entire Heavenland. Through soloing dungeons and clearing mobs, he amassed huge amounts of experience by himself. He cleared all the existing game dungeons and the leveling content of the 2 new expansions, day and night, without stopping. 1 year later, Ling Si chopped the monster with his dagger and said it was the last one. A pillar of light rose into the sky. Ling Si stood in the center of the rays of light. Smiling, he thought that he had finally reached level 100. The guild application in Tiana's hands was stamped on the guild application. Coco Lai irritably said that Ling Si never replies to messages, and all he had been doing for the past year was raising his level. She said that now that he has reached level 100, they don't know where he went. She asked if he was aware that the guild size had increased several times. Tiana smiled awkwardly and showed people the way. Dira said to follow her for the membership review and assessment. Tiana said that because their guild leader was the first player to reach level 100, there's been a boom in applications. She told Dira she appreciates her efforts in handling the membership applications during this period. Dira said it's not a problem. With a smile, she pointed her thumb at herself and told her that she was able to become a guild manager thanks to her recommendation back then, and whatever task she assigns, she'll consider it her duty to fulfill it. Tiana thought with a smile as time flew by quickly, and she found it hard to believe that a whole year had already passed. At Penumbra's current scale, they are not inferior to the number 1 guild, Thousand Autumns, and the guild's headquarters has also expanded severalfold. Thinking back to Ling Si, she thought it was all because of him. It's already been 2 years since they met, and time flies. Tiana looked wistfully at the sky. The old man had told Ling Si that it was already noon, and it was time to get up. He said that he had been skipping school for several days in a row, and asked if he felt bad. Pressing the button on his alarm clock, the protagonist replied with a yawn that he was fine. Going into the game, Ling Si thought that he had hardly rested for the past year, and he was tired of grinding dungeons. He thought, now that he's achieved his goal of reaching level 100, he should have his fill of rest. The protagonist stepped out of the portal. People noticed him, and Ling Si opened his eyes in surprise. A crowd surrounded him, and people shouted that it was indeed Ling Si, Penumbra's guildmaster. Confused, the protagonist thought the drawback of being the first to reach level 100 is that many people now recognize him, and it's a headache. When he was playing this game in his past life, there were already players at maximum level, and it was much easier leveling up with the aid of their experiences, so it's not really strange there's such an uproar now. After using the grappling hook, Ling Si thought he didn't like it and decided to escape. Ling Si used Phantom Gale robes and stood hiding behind a corner in an alley. He thought this Phantom Gale robe's passive had really come into handy, and, at his current level, as long as he doesn't get too close to others, he won't be discovered. Looking at the tall tower, he thought that this way it would be much easier for him to reach his destination. Ling Si walked to the entrance of the tower. He put his hand on the display, and a voice said, "Verifying ID. Initiating special identity verification." The protagonist asked about special identity in surprise. The voice announced, "Verification complete, player Ling Si." The doors opened and the voice said, "Congratulations, as the first player in Heavenland to reach level 100, you will receive a unique reward." Ling thought all players would get a reward upon reaching level 100. However, he saw some threads posted by various pros on the forum in his past life saying that the first level 100 player would get a special reward. On top of that, it's something that's one of a kind, and the person who was the first level 100 player in his past life was Immovable Dark Lines. As he walked through the blue portal, the protagonist thought he remembered that the system generated different rewards based on each player's stats and game records. He wondered what was Dark Line's special reward in his past life. Glancing to the side, he saw a glowing blue hemisphere. The voice said, "Congratulations, as the first player in Heavenland to reach level 100, you will receive a unique reward. This is your unique reward." Ling Si looked at the holographic circles in front of him. The dialog box said, "Congratulations, you have received the special level 100 reward, Bloodline Awakening." Above the protagonist's hand was a golden oblong object. Bloodline Awakening, you can choose one more bloodline and awaken it. This not only grants you the attributes and abilities of that bloodline, but it also bestows upon you its special bloodline skills. Awakening method, simply provide the blood essence of the species of your choice. Take note, your appearance will undergo subtle changes corresponding to the acquired bloodline. Ling Si thought this means he can have the attributes of a second species. He wondered if that wouldn't make him similar to Dumpling, who is a powerhouse with dual bloodlines. He thought this is simply a heaven-defying reward. The voice said it was an exclusive reward prepared especially for him. The voice told him not to forget where he came from. Thinking about these words, Ling Si wondered what that was supposed to mean. He walked out of the tower. Activating the Phantom Gale robes, the protagonist decided to leave it for now and thought he has to think carefully about how he's going to use this bloodline awakening. He thought this should be a single-use item with irreversible effects. Besides, the system message specifically mentioned that there would be subtle changes to his appearance. He came around the corner and spotted Tika. They crashed into each other, and the protagonist opened his eyes as he lay on the ground. In front of him was Tika, who had fallen on top of him. She looked confused. Her personality changed to aggressive, and she asked why there was someone here. A vortex of red energy rose above the rooftops of the buildings. Ling Si said that she was the one who crashed into it, and she was another candidate for the Badge of the Glorious who was with Dark Lions. Ritika, gritting her teeth, said that it was because it came out of nowhere, otherwise she wouldn't have crashed into it. Ling Si thought that it looked like he'd triggered the bad-tempered Ritika. He said that he hadn't expected to meet her here. He asked about the fact that it must mean that her master, Dark Lines, must also be around somewhere nearby. The protagonist said that he had tried to find out anything about him this past year, but couldn't find anything. It was as if he had disappeared. He asked where he had gone. Tika exclaimed that she had almost forgotten. She said she hadn't seen him for a long time either, and he seemed to be very busy every day. She said she didn't know what he was doing now either. Fidgetily running away, Tika said that she didn't have time to deal with him right now. Lingxi thought it looks like she's back to being the gentle Tika. He thought, as the candidates for the badge of the glorious, someday they must have a grand and fair duel. Exclaimed that she had almost forgotten again. Lingxi looked in her direction. Tika, slightly embarrassed, said that Master told her, if she met him again, to call him for a date in the real world. Lingxi wondered if it was a date. He was sitting on a wooden chair, wearing red sneakers. A little embarrassed, he thought this was his first time watching a movie with a girl. He remembered asking Tisa about her wanting to meet him in the real world. The protagonist said that he thought her master wanted to meet him. Tika, shifting her fingers in embarrassment, agreed with him and said that Master told her to meet him first. Bowing, she asked to meet her in the real world. She said that it was an assignment from Master and asked him to give her his contact number to contact him. Lingxi thought about why she chose to meet in such a shabby cinema. Putting his face on his hand, he thought about how people said that this movie theater was a relic from the last century, and there was hardly anyone here. He thought even in the slums it would be difficult to find a cinema like this anymore. The protagonist looked away. Dumpling, wearing a white sweater, pointed at the posters with her finger and said there are so many pictures here and that she wants to watch 3D fleshy mounts. The protagonist said it's not for kids. Waving her arms, Dumpling shouted that she wanted to watch it and it sounded delicious. Lingxi, frowning, said he would buy her popcorn instead. Dumpling asked what popcorn was. The protagonist thought Dumpling insisted on coming and he couldn't shake her off no matter what. Tika, popcorn in hand, apologized for being late. Smiling embarrassedly, she said she'd brought some popcorn. She was wearing a lilac long dress. Lingxi thought that her appearance was not much different from her appearance in the game. Tika said that the movie would start soon and it was time for them to go inside. Dumpling was eating popcorn with a happy face. The three of them sat in the nearly empty movie theater. The voice on the screen was screaming in terror, calling for help, talking about the well and the TV. Tika was watching the movie with an unbothered smile. Lingxi was amazed to think that it was a horror movie. In the movie, a girl came out of the TV screen and the protagonist twitched in fright. The protagonist thought he didn't expect Tika likes watching horror flicks, and she certainly doesn't look like someone who does. He asked if Dark Lines really didn't want to tell him anything. Tika, a little embarrassed, said no. She said that Master had only asked her to meet him in the real world, and he hadn't given her any instructions about where or what they would do. Lingxi wondered what he was up to and if he was toying with him. The sturdy guy held up his hands and loudly asked what kind of lousy plot this is. He asked why the cinema is still showing such cliché horror movies in this era. He said there's nothing about virtual worlds or even any special effects. The guy next to him, agreeing, said that if they hadn't gotten free tickets, they wouldn't have seen such a horrible old-fashioned movie. He shouted that this movie theater should just shut down. Tika was silent with a grim face. The girl with her hair gathered in a ponytail told the guy next to her that they could just not watch the movie if they didn't like it, and there was no need to make such a fuss. The guy said they look like bullies and they better provoke them. The rude guy called them out and said it's a movie theater and they can hear them even if they whisper. A blade of red energy appeared around his hand and he asked who they called bullies. He said he was an awakened one. The guy and girl exclaimed in surprise and ran out of the movie room, saying that they couldn't afford to make them angry. The guy, laughing, said that they run away like rats. Dumpling asked Lingxi if they would teach those bad as a lesson. The main character told her not to make trouble. The tough guy said that this movie theater has ruined his mood and he will trash it later. Red energy flashed next to Ritika's eye. Pushing herself off the back of the chair, she jumped to the back of the movie theater. A guy called out to a guy in a black t-shirt, pointing behind him. Ritika was approaching him, swinging her leg and arm. The rumbling in the movie room could be heard outside. The guy collapsed on a chair with a hard blow mark on his face. The other guy, looking at Ritika, whose fist was shrouded in red energy, exclaimed in surprise that she was awakened. Ritika angrily called them trash. Lingxi asked in surprise if it was Ritika. Dumpling looked at her with admiration. The guy said that he couldn't have imagined that this girl would turn out to be a stronger awakened than them. Unclenching her fists, Ritika said trash like they were not worthy of the title awakened. She asked how they dare to be so disrespectful to others and to the movie. The boy shouted loudly. The afternoon sun illuminated the green foliage on the trees. Lingxi thought that he didn't expect Tika to have a split personality in the real world too. Tika, smiling awkwardly, apologized and said that she hoped she didn't scare them just now. She added that she couldn't control her other personality. The protagonist thought she knew she had a split personality. He said it was fine, and anyways, it wasn't the first time he had seen another her. Taking a seat on the bench, Tika said she had been like this since she was a child. Dumpling, running off in the other direction, said she would play there. Tika said she had to survive on her own since she was a little girl. She said that she was often abused, and later she gradually learned that she had something inside her that was very different from her timid self that constantly protected her at critical moments. The protagonist asked about her parents. Tika said that her parents had not been with her since her birth, and she had no other relatives either. Smiling, she said that she was really lucky that she didn't starve to death. Ling-Si thought that her background is very similar to his. Tika said she believed that the reason why the other one had just appeared was to protect her, because this movie theater was the place where she was abandoned as a baby. She said it's very important to her. She said the other she is like an elder sister who's always protecting her, and she is very grateful towards her. The protagonist thought that he didn't expect her to be an orphan like him. He called out to Tika and she looked at him. The protagonist said with a smile that today didn't count and suggested that they watch the movie again another time. Tika looked at him in surprise, embarrassed. Smiling, she agreed. They turned around, hearing a voice saying that it looked like he had come at a bad time. Ling-Si thought about the fact that this voice was familiar to him. The man in front of him pulled up the sleeves of his sweatshirt. Looking at the man with brown hair pulled back, the protagonist realized that it was Dark Lines. Tika asked him where he had been all this while. Dark Lines asked how many times he had told her to only call him master when they were in the game. He had told her to call him godfather when they were in the real world. Folding his arms across his chest, he told her to do as she pleased. He said he didn't have some business to attend to, so he was away doing some investigation. The main character looked at him shocked. Dark Lines asked him why he was so surprised. Ling-Si said he was a middle-aged guy. Dark Lines said he wasn't a middle-aged guy 10 years ago when he found little Tika at the entrance of the movie theater. He said he decided to take her in. He remembered looking at the baby in his arms with a smile. Tika said that he was away all the time when she was little. Scratching the back of his head, Dark Lines laughed and said it was his fault for not taking good care of her and her other self. Looking at her calmly, he apologized. Tika, eyes wide, objected and said that he had given her a place to live, food, clothes, and the opportunity to go to school. Ling-Si asked him if he was the one who made her become one of the candidates for the Badge of the Glorious. Dark Lines, laughing, told him he's overthinking things. He said that it was beyond his means, and that Tika becoming a candidate for the Badge of the Glorious was a mere coincidence. Ling-Si frowned, thinking that although he knew quite a bit about Dark Lines from his past life, he had never heard of him having an apprentice, let alone already having his goddaughter as an apprentice. He was surprised to notice a fist approaching his face. Ling-Si dodged it, ducking to the ground. He asked Dark Lines what that was for. Tika called out to the master in surprise. Dark Lines told her not to interfere. He smirked and, shrouded in a blue aura, said he just wanted to make sure of something. Rushing forward, Dark Lines was next to the master, ready to strike. Ling-Si thought he was fast. Dark Lines struck with his fist, and the protagonist dodged using top time. He activated Phantom Gale robes, turning into a dark red shadow. Dark Lines exclaimed that he had become invisible. Ling-Si used Shadow Ambush, and Dark Lines was surrounded by purple energy. A sphere of violet energy enveloped him. Shadow Ambush, a skill that pulls your opponent into a separate dimension and rescues their armor defense by 30%. Dark Lines, finding himself in the purple space, said with a smirk that it could weaken his armor, and it was a good skill. Ling-Si, running forward, thought Shadow Ambush allows him to melt into darkness, and with the Phantom Gale robes, he can almost eliminate all traces of his breath. He thought, even though he has no idea what Dark Lines is up to, if he wants a fight, he'll gladly oblige. The protagonist thought, at the very least, it won't be like the first time they crossed hands, where he got one-sidedly beaten up. He thought he was a different person now. Appearing behind Dark Lines' back, he thought, this time, he will erase his previous disgrace. A blade of blue energy appeared in Dark Lines' hand, and he blocked Ling-Si's attack with it. The invisibility effect began to fade, and Ling-Si noticed he broke through his dimension. Dark Lines said he didn't think he wouldn't be able to have his way with him just after 1 year. Swinging the blue blade, he said that even more importantly, the 100% awakening rate actually existed. A stream of pink energy flashed between them, interrupting Dark Lines' attack. Dumpling told him not to bully her daddy. Dark Lines, laughing, said it was interesting. The boy, looking at the explosion of pink energy in the sky, asked if it was fire. The girl said to call 119. Dark Lines, swearing, said things had gotten out of hand. He hurried them on their way. The protagonist told him to explain himself before leaving. Dark Lines turned around and with a smirk told him not to worry and to go to a quieter place first. He said he would explain everything in detail. Ling-Si and Dark Lines were standing on the roof of the building. Tika and Dumpling were standing on the roof of a lower building. Dark Lines said that everyone thought it was impossible for a player to reach an awakening rate of 100%. A sword with dark blue energy appeared in his hand, and he said that he had been doing countless experiments all this time, but his awakening rate could only reach 99%. He said that he couldn't figure out how to get that last 1%, and he was very curious as to how Ling-Si was able to become a perfect awakened. Dark Lines explained that, with the advent of Heavenland, humanity has entered the era of re-evolution, and furthermore, this astonishing ability is actually the product of collaboration among various major nations, using technology to achieve feats previously deemed impossible for humans. He said something he thought was impossible has made limits even more shattered with his appearance. Ling Si asked what he was talking about. Dark Lines said that, simply put, based on his years of experimentation and experience, if one's awakening rate can get to 99%, that's akin to having maxed out one's abilities. He said that he thought 99% was the highest known state the system could fulfill. Ling Si thought about the fact that he too could materialize his weapon in the real world. He asked what he wanted to say. Dark Lion said an awakening rate of 100% exceeds the known state and has become the unknown, and that tiny little 1% has upset the balance of things. He said that 99% is actually the highest reasonable awakening rate, as it implies there's a limit in place, but that additional 1% that he has broken that limit, and it allows him to achieve infinite possibilities. The protagonist thought about infinite possibilities. Dark Lions asked if he had ever thought about why the major nations came together to create a program that would allow humanity to evolve once more, and the purpose behind it all. He said with a smile, with his abilities, he must be a key recruitment target for the military. He said he doesn't trust them because they always keep the truth from the rest of them. Dark Lion said the Awakened is a powerful force, and this is why the military would be willing to risk losing control in order to facilitate humanity's re-evolution. Looking at Ling Si, he said that as the Awakened, he was searching for the truth. Ling Si, looking away, thought about the truth. Dark said that a new thought came to him today. He said all the incredible things that happened to Ling Si. The main character looked at him in surprise. Pointing his index finger, Dark Lion said that maybe the answer he was looking for was right next to him. He pointed at Dumpling.